Have you ever heard of Saab? Most people know the brand for its cars, but the company's heart has always been in aerospace and defense. Saab AB was founded in 1937 to ensure that Sweden could independently design and produce military aircrafts. That mission, born out of geopolitical necessity, still guides the company today. Their most advanced product, the Gripen E fighter jet, represents not only the peak of Swedish aeronautical engineering, but also an exceptional case of agile project management. Not agile in the soft development only sense, but agile as a true organizational culture. In this clip, we explore how Saab managed to combine the rigor of traditional project management with the flexibility and speed of agile, building a fighter jet with an hybrid approach, an example of agile beyond the Scrum. Let's start with the context. The cost of defense procurement has reached staggering levels. In countries like the United States, it's not unusual for programs to cost hundreds of billions of dollars and for budgets to increase by over 60% from their initial estimates. Saab recognized that this wasn't just due to the fact of what was being built, but on how it was being built. It was the process itself. That's why they decided to change it. The development of a new Gripen E jet fighter became the opportunity to radically redesign their approach. Agile practices had already been introduced years earlier, during the software updates on the previous Gripen models. Small teams began experimenting with Scrum, and it worked. So they delivered results faster with fewer bugs and higher satisfaction. When development of a Gripen E began, the agile approach was no longer confined to software. It was extended to hardware and even aircraft fuselage design. The result wasn't a standard Scrum process but a flexible, evolving framework that combined elements from Agile, Scrum, XP, Kanban, and traditional project management. A hybrid model was born. Let's take a closer look at how Saab made this scale. Over 1,000 engineers worked on the Gripen E program, organized into more than 100 teams. Each team was allowed to define its own agile maturity and level of adoption, but all had to follow a common sprint rhythm, 3 weeks. This consistent cadence ensured alignment across the organization. But with these many teams, a simple Scrum approach would not be enough. Saab needed structure, and they created one through a dual-layered hybrid planning system. At the top level, the entire development program was broken into what Saab called development steps. Each step had a clear functional objective, often tied to the readiness of a specific test aircraft. These development steps synchronized the work of various disciplines: software, airframe systems, installation, support, and ensured convergence. Each step was then divided into increments, each lasting a quarter and containing 4 sprints. This ensured a steady rhythm across teams and a focus on smaller, more manageable deliveries. Planning became a mix of top-down goals and bottom-up feasibility. Management defined high-level targets, teams assessed them and validated what could actually be achieved. Beyond structure, Agile at Saab meant rethinking roles and ceremonies. Product owners had an expanded role. Each product owner was responsible for between 4 and 8 teams. They maintained backlogs, of course, but their main focus was on integration and risk mitigation. Unlike in software, the customer couldn't provide weekly feedback. So the product owner became a true proxy, constantly rebalancing priorities and frequently involving pilots and stakeholders to simulate their inputs. Communication became a key enabler. Saab created a structured system of meetings designed to identify dependencies between teams and to share information. This wasn't just a Scrum at scale. It was Scrum transformed into something more suitable for the aerospace world. One of the most significant innovations was the introduction of a retrospective of retrospectives. While standard team retrospectives focused on local improvement, the meta retrospectives helped share solutions to common problems across the organization. It brought teams closer together and enhanced organizational learning. SAP did not just apply agile techniques, they built an agile mindset. To make this hybrid model work, SAP had to enable it structurally. One of the first actions in the project setup was the modularization of the architecture. Each team was clearly responsible for one model. This allowed autonomy and reduced cross-team dependencies. Given the high cost and long feedback loops typical of jet fighter development, SAP also invested heavily in simulation. High-fidelity simulators allowed fast testing and feedback without the need of physical prototypes. They reduced uncertainty and supported faster iteration, the key enablers of agility in hardware development. The strategic plan, rather than being abandoned, was kept alive. It became a shared, continuously updated document, used to coordinate the work of product owners. This is another typical trait of an hybrid approach. Traditional tools are not discarded, but they are reinterpreted. But what really made the difference at SAP were two values: commitment and clarity. Commitment wasn't about blind adherence to the plan. It was about ownership. Each team owned its part of the system and had the freedom to tailor processes to local needs. The organization flattened hierarchies and encouraged self-organization. Clarity was about understanding goals, not fixed requirements, but desired outcomes. Teams had the freedom to define how to get there. This cultural dimension aligned with the principles of Agile as a culture, and it was essential. It made the entire system work. This created emphasis on cultural autonomy and purpose-created alignment, even in absence of rigid control. The product owner, the shared rhythm, the coordination meetings, and the common cadence provided the necessary scaffolding. But it was the shared mindset that kept the project together. From a project management perspective, the Gripen E is an exceptional case. It proves that Agile can be used outside software. It shows that hybrid models are not only possible, but often necessary. The SAP approach used traditional planning tools like development steps, increments, and master plans, but it complemented them with agile practices like sprints or backlogs, retrospectives, and decentralized decision-making. It respected the constraints of a highly regulated and complex industry while introducing the flexibility needed to innovate. It was not agile versus traditional, it was agile and traditional. This case aligns perfectly with the idea of project management as a fluid discipline, not black or white, not waterfall or Scrum, but something in between. A hybrid method adapted to the needs of the project, the people, and the product. SAP did not follow a model, they built their own, and in doing so, they proved that even in one of the world's most demanding industries, agility can fly.